Vasiliy Lomachenko was making elite fighters quit. Some opponents didn't even wait for the final bell. Many fans believed he was untouchable. Then he stepped into the ring with Jorge Linares, a bigger man, a three-division world champion, a fighter with the speed, timing, and confidence to do what nobody else had done. And before the night was over, boxing fans around the world would witness something they had never seen before. But here's the question. Was Jorge Linares actually the toughest opponent Lomachenko ever faced? Let me know in the comments. Nobody expected Linares to push Lomachenko this far. By 2018, Vasiliy Lomachenko wasn't just winning fights, he was making world champions look ordinary. Some opponents quit on their stools, others simply couldn't find him in the ring. Many fans had already started calling him unbeatable, but Jorge Linares wasn't impressed. Linares had won world titles in 3 different weight classes. He was naturally bigger, had a longer reach, and possessed some of the fastest hands in boxing. Unlike many of Lomachenko's previous opponents, he wasn't planning to survive. He genuinely believed he could beat him. And the interesting part is that many experts agreed. Some even picked Linares to pull off the upset. Looking back now, do you think this was the best version of Jorge Linares? Let me know in the comments. Still, most people expected Lomachenko to do what he always did: download information, make adjustments, and slowly take over the fight. But within the first few rounds, something felt different. Linares wasn't backing up. He was matching Lomachenko move for move. And that was the first warning sign that this night wouldn't go according to plan. Linares starts winning exchanges. The opening rounds weren't going the way most people expected. Lomachenko was moving, feinting, looking for answers. But Linares wasn't falling for anything. He kept pumping his jab. He stayed disciplined. And every time Lomachenko tried to close the distance, Linares was ready to meet him with sharp combinations. Suddenly, the man who usually controls every second of a fight was being forced to think. And that's what made this so unusual. Most opponents spent their entire night trying to survive Lomachenko. Linares was trying to beat him. He wasn't backing up. He wasn't freezing under pressure. In fact, some fans thought he was already ahead after the first few rounds. So let me ask you this. Who did you have winning at this point? Lomachenko or Linares? Write your score in the comments. But while Linares was enjoying success, Lomachenko was quietly collecting information. He had seen something. He had noticed a pattern. And even though nobody realized it at the time, the entire fight was about to change. Because just seconds later, boxing fans would witness something they had never seen before. At this point, Lomachenko was still considered almost unbeatable. He had never been knocked down as a professional, but Jorge Linares was beginning to figure him out, and seconds later, everything would change. For the first time in years, fans started asking the same question. Was Lomachenko finally about to lose? And be honest, when you first watched this fight, did you think Linares was about to pull off the upset? Let me know in the comments. Linares shocks the world. Then it happened. In the 6th round, Linares timed Lomachenko perfectly. As Lomachenko stepped in, Linares fired a beautiful straight right hand. It landed flush, and suddenly, one of boxing's biggest stars was on the canvas. The crowd inside Madison Square Garden exploded. Nobody had ever seen Lomachenko dropped as a professional before. For a moment, it felt unreal. The fighter many people called untouchable was now looking up from the floor. Linares walked back to his corner full of confidence. He knew he had just done something special. And honestly, at that exact moment, a lot of fans believed the fight was over. Did you think Lomachenko was going to lose right here? Be honest. Let me know in the comments. Because for the first time in years, Lomachenko looked human. But here's what makes great fighters different. They don't panic. They adjust. Lomachenko got up quickly. He survived the round. And while everyone was talking about the knockdown, Lomachenko was already thinking about something else. He had found a weakness. And Jorge Linares had no idea what was coming next. Lomachenko finds something nobody else saw. Getting dropped had changed the entire atmosphere inside Madison Square Garden. Linares was confident. The crowd was energized. And for the first time in years, Lomachenko was the one chasing the fight. But while everyone was focused on the knockdown, Lomachenko was paying attention to something much more important. He had started noticing a weakness. After every exchange, Linares was backing up in a straight line. His hands were dropping lower, and his body was becoming easier to hit. Lomachenko immediately changed his approach. He stopped headhunting. He began targeting the ribs, the stomach, the liver. Shot after shot landed downstairs. Linares was still winning moments, but little by little, his movement wasn't the same anymore. Did Lomachenko actually need that knockdown to wake him up? Tell me what you think in the comments. And here's the scary part. Lomachenko wasn't fighting emotionally anymore. He was solving a problem. He knew Linares was getting tired. He knew the openings would become bigger. And once Lomachenko smells weakness, he rarely lets his opponents escape. The finish was getting closer. Linares just didn't know it yet. One body shot changes everything. By the 10th round, Linares was still fighting back. He was still throwing combinations, still trying to convince everyone that he had enough left to finish what he started. But Lomachenko saw something different. He saw a fighter breathing harder, moving slower, and protecting his body a little less with every exchange. Then came the moment that changed everything. Lomachenko stepped in with a quick combination upstairs. Linares reacted exactly the way Lomachenko expected, and in an instant, a perfectly timed left hand crashed into his liver. Linares immediately stepped back. He lowered his arm and dropped to one knee in pain. The arena went silent. Linares wanted to continue. You could see it on his face, but his body simply refused to cooperate. The referee reached 10, and just like that, Lomachenko had turned the worst moment of his career into one of his greatest victories. For the first time in his professional career, Vasiliy Lomachenko had been dropped. For a few rounds, it looked like Jorge Linares might actually pull off the upset. But great fighters don't just fight, they adapt. Lomachenko made adjustments. He found a weakness, and he finished a 3-division world champion with a single shot to the body. But here's the real question. Was this Lomachenko's greatest comeback? Or was Linares only one round away from changing boxing history forever? Let me know what you think in the comments.